average of 5% is what is common in terms of statutory reserve. So once you push the statutory reserves up, what it means is you are restricting even the ability of the banks to lend or to support the private sector. So that disharmony between fiscal and monetary issues is also an interesting issue which we believe this room is going to interrogate. And lastly, as we hear the results of the survey, let me emphasize that as leadership of the Chamber of Commerce, we don't have a say in how the process comes out. This is a very independent, we believe, professional process, and we want this particular state of industry committee document to become and to remain that source of reliable data, even for government. Every time we open a monetary policy or a budget, there should be that reference to such a document, given the amount of work and thoroughness which was invested in coming up with that document. With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I hope when the pilot who is in the room will be cruising, I'm not sure if it's 40, is it 4,000 feet above sea level? But what I know is we are in safe hands. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Commissioner Mugaga. And let me invite at this point, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Chamber, Mr. Karoro. Let's put our hands together as he's coming to give us his welcome remarks.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies, Captain Macheka. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. To the guest of honor, Honorable Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Ndhlovu, and our special guest, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable Professor Dr. Amon Murwira. Honorable Ministers, may you humbly allow me to ride on the protocol already observed in the interest of time. It is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you all to the 2024 Business Review Conference, proudly hosted by the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce here in Harare. This event is a key highlight in our annual calendar, providing an opportunity to reflect on the economic and business performance of the year gone by, and to chart a clear outlook for the year ahead. Today we review the strides of 2024 and set our sights on the promises and challenges of 2025. As we approach the close of 2024, we must acknowledge that the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce has been committed to advancing the private sector growth and resilience. In a challenging economic environment, ZNCC has stood as a beacon of hope, driving initiatives that align with national priorities like the Zimbabwe Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan, as well as the National Development Strategy, NDS1. The private sector is a cornerstone of these frameworks, vital to achieving sustainable economic recovery and growth in our country. However, 2024 has not been without its challenges. I think our CEO, Chris Mugaga, did allude to some of these. There has been persistent exchange rate distortions, limited access to affordable capital, shortages of skilled labor, erratic power supply, and regulatory complexities have also tested the resolve of businesses in Zimbabwe. Despite these hurdles, ZNCC has been steadfast in advocating for solutions, engaging constructively with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce and other stakeholders to create an enabling environment for our businesses to thrive. Our annual State of Industry and Commerce survey continues to be an indispensable tool for shaping policies that benefit both businesses and households. With the informal sector contributing approximately 72% to GDP, its integration into the formal economy remains a critical priority. This transition is key to fostering inclusive growth and realizing Zimbabwe's full economic potential. The theme of this year's conference, Unlocking New Frontiers for Sustainable Industrialization and Climate-Smart Business Growth, reminds us of the imperative to future-proofing our industries. Sustainability is no longer optional. it is a business imperative. As Zimbabwe pursues export-led growth, we must align with international standards, adopt climate-smart practices, and enhance competitiveness under the African Continental Free Trade Area. These actions will position Zimbabwe to thrive in an evolving global economy. Ladies and gentlemen, in line with the Sustainable Development Goal number 17, partnership is at the heart of progress. So on behalf of the Chamber, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed partners, including the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom and UNDP Zimbabwe, whose collaboration made this year's initiatives and the publication of the survey possible. The Japanese Embassy and Coronation Solutions for their invaluable support. We also appreciate our media partners, including the Financial Gazette, Newsday, Zimbabwe Independent, ZFM Stereo, and ZFM Capital, for amplifying our message and for making ZNCC indeed the voice of business. As we close the chapter of 2024 and look ahead to 2025, let us recommit to driving progress, innovation, and resilience. I therefore wish you all a joyful festive season and a new year filled with opportunities and growth and prosperity. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May you find this interaction highly insightful. Thank you.
Thank you, President Karoro. Let's put our hands again for President Karoro. I think the person word from what you were saying, solutions. So they talk solutions, and it's important for us to look at it that way. Ladies and gentlemen, before I invite the president of Comesa Business Council, I just want you to remind the person seated next to you, in case that person has not heard it, just remind them that congratulations, you are chairman of SADC. Some of them, by the way, they have never chaired anything, but they've just started chairing SADC. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, let me invite Mr. Chimwaza, the president of Comesa Business Council. Let's put our hands together as he is coming. We will speak through the theme. The theme, ladies and gentlemen, is unlocking new frontiers for sustainable industrialization and climate-smart business growth. And to speak through that is the president here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Allow me also to write on the able recognition of all protocols by the Master of Ceremonies. In the theme, unlocking new frontiers for sustainable industrial and climate-smart business growth, that I'm to deliver in 10 minutes, I thought I can sweep through it by breaking it into 5 small themes, like looking at the motivations for the theme, and then give a state of the Comesa region relative to the theme, and then we cite reference case studies, how this has happened through the case studies that have been conducted in the region. That will inform us how this is possible, and then make recommendations for consideration as we move forward with this theme, and then call to action. So quickly, I'll go through those 5 notes in the presentation. It is a privilege to address this conference, this esteemed gathering on the transformative theme of unlocking new frontiers for sustainable industrialization and climate-smart business growth in 10 minutes. This theme underscores the dual imperatives of advancing industrial growth while safeguarding our environment, ensuring that prosperity is inclusive and sustainable across the 21 member states of Comesa and the entire continent. The word smart in the theme underscores the most trending game changer of the fourth industrial revolution, or 4IR as popularly known, which combines digitalization, Internet of Things, blockchain, big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence that have released unprecedented tools for productivity. So we are not without enabling tools as we look at this challenging theme that we've chosen, Mr. ZNCC. It is important, however, to recognize and note the current trending disruptions and challenges to key success factors in our theme, with the aim of proactively putting such disruptions in check to avoid any negative impact on the effectiveness of our initiatives of unlocking the new frontiers. While major factors of capital items and funding have known approaches to attain the theme, raw materials and human capital can be invasive. Quality raw materials or primary products and quality labor that is appropriately equipped with knowledge and skills are vital ingredients for effective industrialization, and they need to be taken note of. So as we think of the theme, let's look at the criticality of those two items, because we'll make reference to them. Now, let's look at the state of industrialization in the Comesa region. Comesa region is rich in natural resources, entrepreneurial talents, and a strategic geographic position, starting from North Africa, going all the way to East Africa and Southern Africa. Strategic. And it offers immense potential for industrial and climate-smart transformation. Industries contribute an average of 11% of GDP across member states, with agriculture, mining, and manufacturing as dominant sectors. It has a population of 644 million. However, infrastructure gaps, energy deficits, and climate vulnerabilities have hindered economic growth. One of the key threats to climate is our idle human capital that is engaged in environment disruption as they labor to earn their daily bread by engaging in activities such as harvesting wood and charcoal that has great buyers who cannot afford electricity. As we pursue climate-smart business, let us also look at how the idle human capital can be, that depletes the vegetation, can be organized into producers of the much-needed raw materials for our industries. So we can move them from those disruptive elements and become part of those that produce the much-needed raw materials. We can be efficient in production, but without raw materials, we can't make it. Primary producers of wealth is another area we've got to look at. Through agriculture, mining and tourism, and many other sectors of our economy are not being adequately rewarded for their goods and services following privatization drive that gathered momentum in the early 1990s. Resultantly, the function of selling inputs and buying produce from the primary producers was privatized. But it wasn't taken up through the economic thinking. Instead, cartels filled the gap that public sector left. Contrary to the expectations, prices they are paying to primary producers is in all sectors have fallen drastically. Further, governments have lost capacity to track outputs that they can register in GDP, collect taxes, collect forex from exports that are done by cartels. When it was systematic, the public sector, the government, had track of the wealth we've created. But that has been lost, and it needs to be enhanced again. The primary producers have ended up demotivated, resulting in shortages of raw materials for industrialization. We need to address that challenge. So unlocking new frontiers requires innovative, collaborative approaches that harmonize industrial growth with environmental sustainability, ensuring resilience in the face of climate uncertainties by embracing generative AI tools. To unlock the potential of the Comesa region, we must pursue an all-inclusive strategy that integrates industrial growth with environmental sustainability, embracing digitalization and fourth industrial revolution tools. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, I have a few case studies that we can give here as reference sites. Value addition and regional value chains. Developing value chains that integrates raw materials with high value production is critical for industrial growth. Case studies from across the region highlight the potential. For example, in Zambia, local beneficiation of copper into electrical wires has not only enhanced export revenues, but also created jobs and spurred local industrialization. In Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe is positioning itself as a global hub for lithium battery production, demonstrating the value of processing raw materials locally to capitalize on the growing green energy economy. On climate-smart agriculture and agro-industrial development, agriculture remains a cornerstone of many Comesa economies, contributing over 30% of GDP in several member states. Climate-smart agriculture can stabilize raw material suppliers for agro-industries. Malawi has adopted climate-resilient crops, irrigation systems, increasing productivity in the tea and tobacco sectors while ensuring sustainable raw material supplies for processing industries. In Uganda has focused on integrating smallholder farmers into the coffee value chain, introducing practices like shade-grown coffee that enhances resilience to climate change while boosting quality and exports. On renewable energy for industrial growth, energy access is a critical enabler for industrialization, with nearly half of Comesa population lacking reliable electricity. Transitioning to renewable energy offers a sustainable pathway. Ethiopia's Grand Renaissance Dam highlights the potential of large-scale renewable energy projects to power industrial growth and export surplus energy to neighboring countries. Eswatini has invested in biomass energy for sugarcane waste, demonstrating how industries can produce clean energy while reducing environmental impacts. Digital transformation and innovation with 4IR. Digitalization is involving industrial global industrial processes is essential for competitiveness. In Rwanda, the Kigali Innovation City fosters innovation, supporting MSMEs and industries in adopting smart manufacturing practices. And in Egypt has established industrial smart zones that integrate renewable energy, advanced logistics, and digital tools to streamline production and enhance efficiencies. And from all these, this team can learn from and spring from. Our recommendations then are that to the public sector and private sector, that there must be a synergy. Why synergy? Because the public sector are home to all the regulatory instruments for our business. Financial regulation, telecoms connectivity regulation, revenue collection regulation, standards and quality control regulation. Those are all the enabling environments that public sector creates for us. So there is absolute need of synergy between public sector and private sector. A continually engaging in public-private dialogue forum to collaborate fueling the drive to sustainable industrialization and climate smart is bound to birth success if it is embraced. For the public sector policymakers, they harmonize policies in aligning industrial, trade, environmental, financial, connectivity, standards, and quality policies across member states reduces the barriers and fosters regional integration. When we are all of one standard, we can mobilize products. Given a standards protocol, what we produce in Zimbabwe can be aggregated with what is produced in Kenya, what is produced in Malawi and Zambia, and supplied to a market, a big market, for example, in China. Each country cannot make the numbers, but public sectors put on with standardization. It's just the standardization protocol which will inform what we produce, and it can be aggregated. Incentives for green investment incentives. Again, public sector can provide fiscal incentives like tax breaks, subsidies can attract investments in renewable energy and sustainable industries. When working hand in hand with private sector, regional collaborations can be promoted through establishing a regional-wide green industrial fund that can support climate-smart projects and ensuring equitable access for all member states, minimizing the number of times that our passports have to be stamped when we want to work together for a common good for the region. For private sector, corporate social responsibility can be harnessed and it can ease the stress on the government budgets by where we see that we can do something and we can always jump in corporate social responsibility. Innovation and circular economy. Businesses must adopt practices like waste recycling, resource efficiency to enhance profitability while reducing environmental impact. Crop production and animal husbandry integrated, such as poultry, fishing, fish farming, and horticulture. Also, private sector can do cross-border collaboration. Partnership across member states will enable businesses to scale solutions and create interconnected value chains going global through aggregation and linkages. Finally, it's a call to action. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the future of industrialization in Comesa region depends on our collective resolve. Imagine the conference cases, the reference cases that have just been mentioned up here. The vision that ZNCC has brought to us. If the vision is achievable, if we prioritize collaboration, innovation, and sustainability, let us seize this opportunity to unlock the region's potential. ensuring that industrial growth and environmental preservation go hand in hand. Together, we can transform challenges into opportunities. And with this, I will pause for a moment for Comesa to consider. The biggest challenges that are trending now is the conflicts, Ukraine-Russia conflicts, Europe. It's affected many of the predominant producers of food and essential goods. The conflict in the Middle East affects us all. It's creating a gap in supply. It's creating a demand that cannot be met. It's a challenge, but if Comesa, if Zimbabwe and Comesa recognize that as that challenge as an opportunity, that this thing can address addressing that demand, then Comesa can come together and begin to fill that gap, not only to meet the immediate needs of Comesa and Africa, but also that shortage that will be there, because those countries, their budgets now have shifted in the priorities. It's no longer food, it's defense. And that gap that is being left there is for Africa to fill. We need to coordinate. So these opportunities, these challenges are opportunities. We are not doing it smiling. We empathize with the suffering that is going there. But there will be more suffering if the gap is not addressed. So the thing comes at the right time. And so let's have our foundations for the resilient, inclusive, and prosperous Comesa region. I thank you for your attention. I look forward to productive and impactful engagement during this conference. May God bless you. God bless God bless Comesa. And congratulations. Yes.
Thank you. I think we can do better. Let's do our best together. He's the president of 21 countries. I think we can do better. What I want to assure you is that Mr. Chimwaza came into Zimbabwe officially via our airport with his passport. He did not use the other flights. He actually went to the airport. So welcome, Mr. Chimwaza. How many people are from Malawi here? If you can just wait, if you are from Malawi. You're from Malawi. Thank you. I just wanted you to wait for the president. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we move forward. I think he unpacked and he broke down the big animal into 5 biteable parts. And it is very critical. And he said together we can turn challenges into solutions. And that is the way to look at it. So today we just want to move forward and see the power of research, what has been researched, and the outcome is what is coming from you. I just want to put a disclaimer that whoever is going to make a presentation here, as in Dr. Pindiriri, please come forward, Dr. Pindiriri, to come and make a presentation on the findings of the state of the industry. They did not manufacture figures, they did not manufacture statements, they actually compiled what you were giving them. So whatever the outcome, it is coming from you and it is not coming from them. Is that not correct? Thank you.
former seniors who are here as well, the Minister, Honorable Mangaliso, we have also Professor Murwira, we have Dr. Maji, and also the President of ZNCC who is here. So thank you. So I am given only 15 minutes, a maximum of 15 minutes. So I have to make sure that I present at least 2 slides a minute. So I'll be moving very fast. So our results, so these are what I'm going to present on 5 things, 4 things indeed, objectives, data and response, right? Major findings, what are the findings? And then the policy suggestions, policy recommendations from us based on the findings. So whatever we are going to present is information coming from the industry, different sectors, about 13 sectors of the economy, right? So the survey was carried out between June and October 2024. The reason why it's extended, we normally need at least 6 months, is because of the low response rate characterizing normally our data collection processes in Zimbabwe. So because of that, at least we managed to get at least a number of observations or adequate observations for analysis. Right, so the report is comprehensive and it covers all sectors, about 13 sectors of the economy. Also, it builds on the previous surveys. So ZNCC has been doing this over the past years, 5 or so years. So we are building on the previous surveys as well. So we hope this findings will continue to inform policymakers in the future as well. So what are the objectives? Number 1, the specific objective number 1 was to estimate, these are estimates, the number of new common entrants as well as exits. So we used data from the register of companies, ZIMURA, in order to estimate this. Also to measure capacity utilization across all major sectors of the economy. Number 3, to identify factors weighing on the ease of doing business. So what are the drivers of ease of doing business? Right? What are actually the factors driving the ease of doing business? Number 4, we measure business confidence. Right? That's number 4. We measure business confidence. So we did this by sector as well. We also measure business confidence by size as well. So by sector as well as by size. As well, the last objective is to provide an analysis of Zimbabwe's informal sector, which is actually here you are not going to get much. Why? Zimbabwe currently is doing what is called economic census. There you're going to get much in terms of informality in Zimbabwe. But we tried to estimate this using some techniques, elasticities probably to certain movements in macroeconomics and so forth, right? So from the 2,200 distributed questionnaires, we got responses from 1,777. Quite impressive response rate, probably because of the longer period, which is about 6 months, which is 79%. But you can see here, right, the largest number is coming from, of the responses is coming from this sector, wholesale and retail trade, as well as the repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles. That we have the largest number. Remember, because we have so many retailers as well as, so I think the sample size of the responses are quite representative per se, given the distribution. So in terms of findings, number 1, we tried to estimate trends in company registration and deregistration based on the data from the register of company and NASA ZIMURA as well. Here you can see an increase in the number of deregistered companies, but also there's been an increase in the number of new companies registering, right? What is important is the second one. If you look at ZIMURA and the register of company, you can see between 2018 and and also 2020, 2022, around 2023, you can see that almost equal numbers, number of firms registering, we had also equal number of firms paying registering for taxes, right, under ZINCC. So, but then this situation changed from 2024 onward, right? That's when it changed. Then you find we have so many people also coming to new entrants here, and the registration, similar registration remains just So the second part of the findings was capacity utilization. We also included collected data information on capacity utilization, right? So from capacity utilization, remember this, we are not going to talk about the methodology, not because it's too technical, even the methodology for business confidence is too technical, we can spend time. But for capacity utilization, there were some questions raised probably in the previous also studies. I then decided to say, okay, you need to understand that when you are measuring capacity utilization for manufacturing is different, very different from the services industry. So the two formulas are very different. So you have to, so the capacity utilization you see for the services industry is measured as capacity utilization for the manufacturing industry, right? So you can see these formulas can also be, you can read more about this in the report. So in terms of the findings, you can see capacity utilization 2024 going down, 2024 from 23 in other sectors, but going up in us, in entertainment and recreation, you can see accommodation and food services here going up. You can as well as see transport and storage. So mining and quarrying going up. So you can see the sectors where this we have capacity utilization going up. Normally these have been using or transacting in US dollars. You can see that it's most of these sectors have been, but we have a large decline in wholesalers. If you can see, wholesale, retail, repair, and this is quite a huge decline. And you can also see this later on. That the reason you can find that the major reason raised there, which we're going to talk about more, is the distortions in monetary and exchange rate, right? Especially for large firms, right? So that's what was the problem, right? So what are the factors weighing down this? What are the factors identified? So the major factor identified by the respondents is exchange rate distortions. Right? That was the major factor that driving down capacity utilization. We have also lack of access to foreign currency being a major factor. Also low demand raised here, and also power outages as one of the key factors driving down capacity utilization. So you can see also respondents citing that El Nino induced drought is also the main cause of drastic fall in capacity utilization, especially in the agriculture, hunting, and fishing and forestry sector. And in the other sectors, particularly in services such as wholesale and retailing, low consumer demand and exchange rate distortions were identified, right? Were identified as the main factors in those, especially in the wholesale sector, right? Right. Don't know about this one. You can find it in the main report. This is simply about one area where we can use, which we can use to improve capacity utilization of firms, just improving energy supply, reducing power outages. We can do this by probably through independent power producers, but they have issues. Those are some of the issues they have, probably which must be addressed for them to, in order to upscale production of electricity by this group, right? So you can see that. So in terms of ease of doing business, the ease of doing business, so there are so many factors identified by the respondents. Actually, from bureaucrats, and then we have inefficient legal and regulatory process frameworks, inadequate infrastructure, poor infrastructure, road networks, unreliable power supply, and so many things cases, high access to finance, and limited access to information, high corruption levels, inflexible labor regulations, and so on. There's so many things raised by this, and we're going to talk about this in terms of the numbers, right? So, right, some developments for improving the ease of doing business. So far, we are seeing the government has been doing something, right, a lot in terms of trying to improve the ease of business. If you look at the area of infrastructure, we have seen the government spending a lot in terms of trying to upskill and improve infrastructure in terms of roads, ports. We have seen development of also airports, and also the government trying to do a lot in this area. Also, we have also ZINRA trying to do a lot in terms of trying to improve efficiency, like the introduction of the tax and the revenue management system. We also have the Registrar of Company introducing CIPZ system, which is also quite efficient, right? So the government is doing something positive in terms of trying to improve the ease of doing business. But if you can also check, you can see here corruption is one of the corruption in delegates is one area identified by the respondents that this is very serious, especially if you look at borders. Our borders, they are very porous to the extent that government is losing a lot, at least 1.2 billion probably per year because of the porous borders. So this one area is not only the government losing, also the formal sector is also losing in terms of these porous borders. So corruption is a serious issue also addressed by the corruption. If you can see, this is the Transparency International Index, corruption index, right? Perception index. This is simply perception, right? Right. So perception of doing business, you can see this is coming from also the respondents. About last year, they were saying about 74% were saying that the business environment is unfriendly. This year is 83% saying that. But what is only positive in this case, if you see it friendly, it's 11% were saying it's friendly, now it's 4%. The neutral, those who are neutral, the number reduced drastically. So this is coming from the businesses and so on, right? So what factors then, what factors are weighing down the ease of doing business, as we said? For the ease of doing business, we still have monetary and fiscal distortions dominating here, like in capacity utilization. So this is quite a huge problem, or something that needs to be addressed. We have also corruption, we have low demand, poor roads, railways, unreliable power supply, we have limited access to finance. There are so many, so these are the percentages of the respondents saying that this is a problem to them, right? Then what are they proposed? What did they propose? So this is what is coming from also from the respondents. They propose the measures to deal with these challenges. And the first measure they propose is to make sure that we have a stable macroeconomic environment. You make sure that we remove all the monetary and exchange rate distortions in the economy. That's number one. By doing this only according to them, we can actually significantly improve both the ease of doing business as well as capacity utilization. The other issue is, major issue is they want the government to step efforts in combating corruption. They also want the government to promote upscale promotion, because the government is already doing this. So it's upscaling promotion of IPDS, as well as upscaling development of infrastructure. So those are some of the issues that are actually suggested by the respondents to make sure that we improve our capacity utilization as well as the ease of doing business. Then we move on to business confidence, right? So the business confidence, right, is that just we measured an index called the Business Confidence Index. And this index is, as I said, is very technical. We use 5 key components, right, factors. The economic situation of the establishment, the economic situation about the sector of the establishment, economic situation of the country, investment and profitability. So what we ask the respondents to do is simply to ask them, for example, number one, how do you see the economic situation of the country this period compared to last year, right? And then they say there are three answers. Either they say no change is worse or the same. So we have the actual component. That one is also, although this measure is a sentiment of some sort, but it is an actual component where businesses get the information from what actually happened, what the level they are at compared to what they were at last year period. Then the other component is about the expectation. What do they expect next year, right? Comparing next year and the current year. They may say it's going to improve, it's going to be the same, or it's going to be worse, right? So we then get all these responses. Then summarize the responses, weight the responses, because companies or industry businesses are different. We have very large companies in the economy. You can't have the same weight as a company employing 2 people. So there are weights, we have weights that we use for this confidence. So from there, then we come up with the confidence. So basically the responses are coming from the businesses, and then we summarize them to come up with these indices. So in terms of economic situation of the country, the number of, they were expecting to decline, all these to go down as compared to last period, but they are still in the positive. You can see the index is still positive, but they're expecting it to go down, and you find it, the main sectors, because we did it also by sector are pushing it down, expecting to go down. It's basically the wholesale and the retail sector, especially large firms, right? Because of exchange rate distortions and so forth. We also have the agricultural sector because of what happened the previous drought. Remember the last component, the other component of this is actually asked to compare last year and this year. So then we had a drought last year, so the actual is pushing down what they expect, although they are expecting the environment to improve, the agricultural sector to grow next period. So you have 1.40 here. I was looking at this and also established that to find out that it's not far away from some of the indices established by some of the organizations, business organizations back this year. So it's almost closer to that. So business executives expect an improvement in investment, profitability, and economic situations in 2025 compared to the current situation. So in 2025, you can see this is the positive. In 2025, they're expecting a better 2025. They are optimistic about 2025, although this index is weighed down by what actually they were expecting during the previous year. So they're expecting 2025 to be better. Remember, there are two indices, so the components of this index, right? The one is the situation diffusion index, which measures the situation. What is the situation like compared to the previous? The other component is the expectation diffusion index, which measures what they expect next year compared to this year, which is positive, that one. They are optimistic, but the situation is not, they are not positive in some of these sectors, right? So business executive sentiments regarding future business prospects are largely shaped by the existing real situation. So it is the real situation which is pulling this index down, not their expectation. Their expectation is rather positive. In 2023, business confidence was high because businesses were expecting a significant improvement after the end of COVID-19. So you can see the gap between the last period and this period is quite huge. Why? Remember, we're coming from the other period, we're coming from COVID. So there was a significant improvement in the actual situation. So that gap has to be larger compared to this one, right? That growth, the growth now is maybe, yes, it is positive, but it may not cover the gap that we actually had after COVID-19, right? Because from COVID-19, where we are saying, okay, everything was going down, and then we start from a very low level, and you reach a certain level, the percentage growth is quite big. The growth is quite big in terms of numbers, right? So the situation improved significantly, thereby increasing situation deviation index, which in turn drives BCI. However, the subdued performance of the economy mainly caused by monetary and exchange rate distortions negatively affected business situation and weighed down the right. So you can see that according to sectors, these sectors are optimistic. There are so many sectors that are optimistic, like in the electricity sector, RC, education, accommodation, and food and beverages, agriculture and forestry. We have human health as well as social activities, information and communication technology, mining and quarrying. Also, again, you can see this, especially sectors where there is a larger inflow across the world. They trade largely in US dollars. Those are very optimistic, right? According from the results. So the other are pessimistic, but you can see this is the major problem, number 8. This is largely driving down the business confidence. Wholesale and retail, right? Wholesale and retail driving down because of this, talking about this exchange rate, so especially like firms. You can see the connection between this one, it's not this one. Yeah. So, yeah. We're still there, right? Okay. Then you can see the problem is actually number 8 there. Minus 64.6, right? Over this period. That's where the problem, the issue is, the main issue is. And then we can move on. You can see the link between this table and the next. Sorry. Yeah, and this next table by size. Look at large firms, right? Large firms are expecting a decline in terms of whatever the economic situation or the situations, especially they are pessimistic. But the small firms and especially those with less than 20 employees, medium firms, very optimistic. You can also see this the problem where the issue is there's connection there. If you go to the wholesale sector, you see the large businesses were largely affected by the exchange rate distortions. Those that are trading in super small stores like tax shops, they use US dollars. They don't have problems. So that's why probably these results are pointing to something like that. Those guys not affected by distortions as these large firms, right? So we also did, this one is also to support the confidence index, which is what we call the purchasing managers index. We also did this. You can see it's above 50%, so it's positive, right? Like the business confidence is also above 0. It's 1.4, it's positive, meaning that they are optimistic, although it's small, because it extends from, it is between minus 100 and 100. So when it is above 0, it's positive, it's optimistic, right? Because it's from minus 100 to, it's an index from minus 100 to 100, right? So when it exceeds 0, it's something positive, although it's very small, but there is, we have positivity as well. Like here, you see it's exceeding 50% by 3.5. So it's positive, although small, but it's still positive. They are optimistic generally, right? You find the overall means they are optimistic. Because it has to be positive about, but although small, we need to make sure that it's upward, right? On the upward side, right? Yeah. Sectoral PMI, purchasing managers index, you can see as well, it's almost similar figures, but they are very high in mining. Mining there, we have mining and arts, entertainment and recreation, right? And then as well as accommodation and food services. Very huge here, right? So their optimism is quite larger, the degree of optimism is larger than in other sectors, right? Right. In terms of informality, yes, we did something there, but we understand that we are going to get, I think, comprehensive information question on informality, especially from the economic census, counting everyone on the ground. But otherwise, here we just used the previous figure of informality, which is the baseline, which was 71%. Then we estimated what are called elasticities. We estimated elasticities based on movements in macroeconomic variables, and then try to estimate that what percentage increase we expect if we have this situation in the country in terms of macroeconomics. What exactly do we expect from that, right? So it's actually from 2 up to 70%. So my time is almost up, so I have to rush to recommendations. This number 1, currency and exchange rate distortions. Make sure that you get your money supply. So we need stability in this macroeconomics. Right? Stability is required. I think that's the very number 1 thing that we need. Even if we want to improve confidence, right, among the citizens, just make sure that we are consistent. We improve stability over a long time. If it is about the stability of the local currency, it will be over a long period of time. Because if it keeps on, the value keeps on going down and down and down, then we will have problems. This guy will not, so the citizens will not actually improve in terms of confidence issues, right? So upscale industrial support, this is very important. To upscale industrial support, what is required, probably some of the issues raised by also the president, I think Comesa, president there, some of the key issues like tax incentives, tax holidays, and so forth, right? And also do it sector specific. You must have sector specific taxes, not blanket taxes. Sector specific are very, very important, especially for development issues, right? And then we have develop the energy and the power sector. This is very important. It has been there for a long time. So we need to work upscaling and try to make sure that outages are not there. But from the industry, the recommendation from the industry there, you can see from the industry, one of the recommendations is that we make sure that they can extend, if ZESA can also probably extend the grace period 6 to 12 months for business to clear their ZESA against and so forth. Right? That's one. And the other recommendation we can read up the right uphold proper right increase investments in skills. This is about upscaling these things. We are not saying the businesses are not saying they are not there. They are saying upscale this, upscale digitalization, promote formalization, reduce public debt, and reduce upscaling in paying repayments. Capacity Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission to effectively verify corruption, abolish IMTT, and consider tax incentives enhance border management to keep it in smuggling. I rest my case. Thank you.
Why did it move down from 58.5 to 56.2? We are going to be discussing that in detail. As they say, also perception is the reality. If the perception says 83%, what does that mean? We're going to unpack that. Then factors weighing down on the ease of doing business will be weighing down, will be unpacking that as well. But there was a percentage that shocked me when I looked at 91% of the issues coming from the monetary and fiscal distortions. And to deal with that also, we have got experts who are going to help us unpick that. So we are going to have time to discuss the presentation and the survey in detail. So at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite our special guest, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable Dr. Professor Amon Murwira. Let's put our hands together.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much. I will be supported by the PowerPoint has to be very clear about how our foreign policy links to what we are talking about today, and maybe just clarify certain things. Say what is our national strategic intent, and just to say that our national strategic intent is basically to fulfill the human needs of Zimbabwe. I just want to be very clear, I just want to be very clear so that we refer to this diagram and refer to the intentions of Zimbabwe, the Second Republic, the excellent President of the Ndhlovu, what he's talking about, why he's talking about it, what we are trying to achieve in terms of industry commerce, in terms of prosperity for this country. Our objective is to become happy and prosperous as a people, and these are words that you find in Section 8 of the Constitution. What is Zimbabwe's national strategic intent? To be happy, prosperous, democratic, free, and just. But at the end of the day, that prosperity is what we are looking for. So when we are talking about Vision 2030 to become a prosperous upper middle income economy, it's a direct translation by His Excellency from the Constitution. Just for those who don't read too much, go to chapter 2 of the Constitution, subsection 8, you see exact same words. So what is it that we need to be happy? I will just go to the next slide so that I can explain. You know, let's be very simple and straightforward. We need food and drink. When I look around here, we need food and drink. Because sometimes we collapse complexity into equations and forget that these equations are out. Agriculture, I've seen this. Food and drink is our primary thing because ourselves, as we speak, we are food and drink. 80% water about, and then the rest is solid, which is food. We need shelter. We need water resources. We need infrastructure that we've been talking about. We need sleep, we need health. I was seeing what we need innovation. So if I would say FSWTSI, I would therefore say prosperity is a function of the presence of food, presence of shelter, presence of water, presence of infrastructure, presence of sleep and health, presence of innovation. And therefore poverty is the absence of those things. So, having said that, all our policies, going back to my diagram, we are saying our aim can be met only with capabilities, which must be met. The first capability is called local production. No matter what kind of mathematics you can do, it's about local production. And that production is what produces the factors that I was talking about. And with local production, we can therefore do trade. Otherwise, we end up trading in money, which is a simple exchange of papers. That's not food. Which tackles, we say, oh, exchange rate, whatever. Those things are due to lack of local production. Once you start talking about, we want foreign currency, it means you want to go and buy elsewhere. You are not producing. Let it sink. Therefore, international trade, the basis of international trade is local production. Otherwise, it's not trading, it's international buying. The next is tourism, international tourism. Technical scientific cooperation, that makes us be able to support the local production. And then the rest is humanitarian, how we cultural exchange and other things, and then we can do consular services to make sure that our citizens abroad are happy and protected. but it needs an architecture. All these things need a configuration. It needs an architecture. And that architecture must be heritage-based. And I will explain. An architecture must necessarily come from the environment in which the people live. You can, if you want to do a fruit production architecture, you make sure those are the fruits that are in your country. I want to use this example again. Every fruit is a wild fruit. Oranges are a wild fruit. Apples are a wild fruit. Pomegranates are a wild fruit. They were brought to the house. I think you understand why I'm talking about heritage. One friend of mine, professor from Saudi Arabia, we were looking at satellite images of Zimbabwe during a drought in 2006, I think. And I said, my friend, there's a drought. And then he showed me a satellite image of Saudi Arabia. And I was showing him a satellite image of Zimbabwe during drought. And we measure with what we call a vegetation index. The vegetation index of Saudi Arabia was negative. The vegetation index of Zimbabwe was positive. So he asked myself, asked me, my friend, what drought? What drought do we have? I want to talk about heritage. When you see your crops being hit by drought, ask yourself, what kind of crop are you growing? When you go to a baobab tree, you will see it with fruit. But you say, my oranges are down, the drought is hitting there. No, the drought is in your brain. Because you are not looking at your heritage. Because your heritage is your source of power. If your country is full of scorpions, see how you can eat those scorpions. Why? I'm just using an extreme example. So, heritage is power. The best way to decapitate the capability of a country is to remove it from its heritage. What is its heritage? Its mineral resources. What is its heritage? Its climate. What is its heritage? Its vegetation, which are fruit, which are vegetables, which are grain. What is its heritage? Its water resources, in their plentiness or smallness. What is its heritage? Is the attitude and culture and values of its people, and how they apply their minds to take care of their heritage to produce the goods and services that they need. Why am I saying all this? I'm saying it so that you understand Zimbabwe's foreign policy when it comes to trade, business, and commerce. Now, if we respect our heritage, we will be able to take a baobab fruit and make powder out of it. And a baobab tree doesn't need a boom spray. When you see yourself using too much chemical, it means that crop must not belong there, does not belong there. Apples are from Kazakhstan, from the mountains of Kazakhstan. They just grow like matamba grow here. You just go into the forest and gather apples. But because we want controlled environment, we can always propagate them and grow them and so on and so on. Marula, it doesn't need a boom spray. It needs your brain and it needs you to chemically analyze things and make it juicy. This thing of buying 2% juice and 98% water and destroying our roads with water, which you call juice, is a disrespect of heritage, therefore a negation of good international trade practice. Now, if that is the case, our heritage therefore becomes our source of our foreign policy when it comes to production. So we must configure ourselves so that we know when we are talking about foreign affairs of our country, we are talking about our domestic policy. Once our domestic policy is inward looking, we are able to interact with the outside world, therefore project Zimbabwe's values and comments to the outside world. Which takes me to our what drives us. So in the next slide, we are seeing that we are trying to project Zimbabwe's heritage outside, so that the outside benefits from our heritage and we benefit from the heritage outside. Simple. That's the basis of our international relations. To this end, you will see that His Excellency has been doing a lot of doctrines that we might not have had time to really think about. He then says, what is he saying? Use your heritage to build your country so that you can attract others to come to your country, so that you can attract business, so that you can do business with other people. Because you cannot sell coal to one year because one year is enough coal. You cannot buy things from country X in order to sell them to country X. Therefore, you must have your unique goods, and that country has its unique goods. Therefore, is the basis of your international relations. Boom, boom, joining like that. There is no international relations of a begging country, where you are always begging, we need help when we have got a lot of fruits. So, it therefore takes us to this doctrine of Nikainoba Kwaneleva. Then it takes us to the doctrine of Chimurenga Chepfungwa, the liberation of the mind. A liberated mind which knows that apples are a wild fruit, just like matamba a wild fruit. Therefore, our citrus industry is to transform completely with this thinking. Then His Excellency goes on to say, Zimbabwe is open for business. It then goes on to say, friend to all and enemy to none. We don't want any enemies, we don't manufacture them, and we don't wish them. We just want to be friends to all and enemy to none, so that we can be happy, prosperous, just, and free. Yes, people can invent us as an enemy, but we're not an enemy of anyone. And we don't wish to be. All these are business enabling environments. Friends, all anytime, Zimbabwe is open for business. Let's do business. An emphasis on peaceful coexistence with our neighbors here, near and far. I'm trying to say what His Excellency has been pronouncing is exactly Zimbabwe's foreign policy, which promotes commerce. And we say heritage is our weapon against poverty. That's why we say heritage-based this, heritage-based that. Heritage does not mean dancing in turmoil. It's just one of those things. Heritage means your minerals. Heritage, there is no country that has more minerals than this country. We might not know the amount, but they are here. This country is fully mineralized. Therefore, we use our heritage for that purpose. Now, as I speak, I want to take note of two things. One, negativity attracts attention. If you write negative headlines, disaster in Zimbabwe, this, it attracts readership. But negativity doesn't build the country. It is hope that does. So in your binary choice, there is one called negativity, then there's another one called hope. Which one do you choose? I choose hope. Because from hope, you harness positive energies for movement forward. There, to meet our national strategic intent of becoming an upper middle income economy, we shall harness hope, but we cannot prevent people from writing negativity. Because negativity is very attractive to talk about. And it's right. So, this is the testament of the collaborative spirit that drives our nation forward. As it is a platform to map out strategies to achieve the sustainable and prosperous future that we are all looking for. It is indeed our task to achieve a sustainable, prosperous future. Indeed, business leaders are very important in this case. Now, this country must run on trade. And I just want to say what is the desired scenario. Trade, okay. Yeah. This is our desired scenario. More money coming in, which means more goods being exported. Less money going out. The undesired scenario is that where more money is going out because of less exports and people wanting foreign currency to buy, business of money, give me this money, I'll give you that money, give you this money, I'll give you that money. But I tell you, without production, all of you with your mountains of money will go hungry and you die. So this is the desired scenario. So the desired scenario is what we are trying to encourage. What? Using what? International trade based on what? On our heritage. There is no way you will produce better wine than in a Mediterranean climate. Never, unless you are producing that wine from Marula. Simple. Because wine is just a fermented something. So ferment something that is growing in your own environment. And then next time we will not be talking about lack of foreign currency, lack of this, because they are trying to grow things that are refusing to grow. Therefore, your children, what is in the negative. So, if we have to move to understanding what we are now trying to do, we know that a country cannot prosper without trading with other countries. And we want to integrate Zimbabwe's economy into the world economy. We're in the process of doing that. And international trade. When people are talking diplomacy, let's be very clear. We are talking diplomacy so that we can exchange food at some point, so that our poverty, both of us, my neighbor and myself, is reduced. Because I give him what I have, they give us what they have, and we are friends, and we break cake together or break bread. So international trade is the basis of our talking. Otherwise, there is no need to talk. Why are you talking if you are not doing business? Otherwise, we can just dance, which is okay, but we dance in order for us to exchange food in happiness, to exchange goods in happiness, products, knowledge, what. So if Zimbabwe understands this, and any country understands this, then prosperity comes to the world. And I would like, if I had a choice, Zimbabwe's business to understand those basic rules of nature. No matter how we reduce tastes, if you don't produce, it's not possible. Private sector, government sector is what is called the governance sector and the production sector, but all of them constitute a country. There's no private person in a country, there is no public person in a country, it's only sectoral segmentation for the issue of efficiency. As long as you know that, there is no Murwira government, we are together in this mess or in this prosperity. Let it see. So, as we move and make policies, we are making policies for us who happen to be in the private, in the public, and so not finger point, but issue point. I think it is very important. Now, ZimTrade is our facilitation agent. I want to talk a bit about ZimTrade and what is our vision through His Excellency about ZimTrade. ZimTrade is a logistics company for the country. enabling policy and private sector production systems. And making sure that that production system reaches our markets. And that the markets outside come inside here. And our goods go outside go in with this exchange. But let's not confuse buying things from country X as trade. It might be trade for them, but it's not trade for you. There, as ZIM trade moves starting from the SADC region, we expect facilitation, not in words, but facilitation in logistics, infrastructure, human capital, the legal framework, and the financial pipeline to say if we want to send melons to Zambia, where will they go to Zambia? Where will they, with what? How will they go? Do you have the transport? Are we going to put them in a pond? It's going to happen. So we have to think very widely and systematically, first of all, by owning our process. That's why heritage-based policy making is very important. Who are you? Your home is your place of power. What is power? Power is the ability to use your resources for prosperity for yourself and your neighbors. So, we have made a lot of progress in formulating this kind of thinking, but I really hope that we understand what we are trying to do and what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs International Trade is trying to facilitate. In the process, we are trying to make trade profiles between ourselves and our neighbors and all near and far. For example, we have just completed a trade profile between ourselves and Namibia in weeks to say what is it that what is it that we need from Namibia, and so as a basis of our strategies. The next, with USA, just looking at trade status. The next, we have been looking at these things in order for us to move forward. Now, what did His Excellency say during the Industrialization Week? Promoting innovation to unlock opportunity to sustainable economic growth and development towards an industrialized society. We are very happy that our private sector was able to participate and put up a big show during that week. But as we move forward and as we are chair of SADC in the next year, we now need to walk the talk. But again, I'm saying, our international trade is driven by our heritage. It means don't sell things to country X which we have bought from country X and call it trade. Application of our mind on our heritage is extremely important. Investment comes to people that are doing something. That's one of the most important. Nobody, I excuse this long, I'm trying to be very, to provoke a certain thinking. And let me put on my academic hat and say, this is not the Minister of Foreign Affairs speaking, but it's the Minister of Foreign Affairs speaking. But let me say, nobody visits a fool. People visit people that they can gain something from. An innovative nation is a magnet. That's what I'm trying to say. So innovation becomes your cornerstone for magnetizing trade and commerce in the country. That's why human skills development is the cornerstone of everything, because you can't become what you don't know and you can't become what you can't do. And your heritage is your source of power, which means you trade with the goods that you have the best advantage of, using the best brains from everywhere in the world. Let's take everyone in the world to attract all those people that think very well to unlock value from our heritage. Because at the end of the day, this one is a plant. This one is oil. That glass there is the soil. Because the glass is coming from sand, basically. As long as we know that, we know that everything that we need is here. What we have to work on is our mind. And attractiveness, negativity attracts attention, but it doesn't attract progress. Hope attracts progress. So choose one. I choose hope. And to know that only through our heritage shall we prosper. But that heritage, we have to apply our brains on. That's why people come here and say, oh, lithium, we've come from lithium investors, because they know the heritage of lithium, but you might not have the heritage of brains. Therefore, we shall do an industry for you on lithium. You must know what is lacking in order to fix your country. This is the best of operating what is identity.
Thank you. Let's put our hands together again for obviously, I've taken some few notes here. Prosperity is the presence of SSWTSI. And poverty is the absence of FSWTSI. Shall we clap hands for the issue of local production has been amplified as the basis of international trade, otherwise it's international buying. So you see how you can eat scorpions. So ladies and gentlemen, so as we leave this conference, and this is at the end of the year, we have got enough time between now and the next business review to prepare recipes for scorpions. And there shall be winners in our next business review. Ladies and gentlemen, heritage has been amplified as the source of our foreign policy. Weapon of liberating our minds, something like that, you know? And again, negativity versus hope. Choose hope. You know, it's just like the Bible which says, I put before you life and death. Choose life. So if we put before you negativity and hope, choose hope. Why choose death? If you don't choose hope, then you are choosing death. By way of another definition. Again, let's put our hands together for the MC. Before I call, ladies and gentlemen, our guest of honor, I just want you to tell somebody next to you the following. Look at them and say the following. And then say, Nika, Inovakwa, Nelenela, Ikotongwa, Nelenela, Igotamatiwa. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, let me invite our guest of honor, Honorable Mangaliso, Ndhlovu, to come and address us. Let's put our hands together.
There is something called Chimwaza. Allow me to recognize the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Professor Dr. Amon Murwira, the Deputy Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Honorable Apache David Mugaga, I'm not too sure if Joseph Mayor is with us here. He says he's another one. Councillor Mafume is here. I recognize the peers from Energy and Power Development. I saw someone, Dr. Tapiwa Karoro. I recognize also the Central Bank Government. Dr. Manshek is here with us. I know among the speakers is His Excellency. I don't know whether I should say he's the Rwanda ambassador to Zimbabwe or he's now Zimbabwean. How can you have Mr. Musoni in Rwanda? My brother, I recognize you. Turkey ambassador to Zimbabwe, Her Excellency Ambassador Bena, Kusnaki, Besteden. I hope I'm not too far from the correct pronunciation. Other members of the diplomatic corps, the Director General of the Zimbabwe National ZNCC, Mrs. Tapiwa Karoro, Senior Government Officials, ZNCC President, Mr. Tapiwa Karoro, and all the past presidents. I've seen quite a few here. ZNCC Management and Staff, led by my brother Chris, UNDP Zimbabwe Rep, Dr. Odusola, Country Manager World Bank, Ms. Adena Fernandez, Resident Rep IMF, Mr. Carlos, Caceres, I hope I am also not too far there, and the Regional Chief Operating Officer, African Bank, my brother Humphrey, CEO SADC Accreditation Service, Dr. Kanzikwa, Comesa Business Council President, Mr. James Chimwaza, UNDP Zimbabwe Rep, Senior Economist, Mr. Alex Rodriguez, colleagues, senior members who are here, dignitaries. I hope I recognize everyone, all protocols observed. It is my profound honor to officiate at this event as the guest of honor in this 2024 Business Review Conference, which is the 4th edition in the series that have been held on an annual basis. And it is running under the theme, I quote, Unlocking New Frontiers for Sustainable Industrialization and Climate Smart Business Growth, close quote. As we come to the end of the year, I am glad that this gathering will provide us with a rare opportunity to dialogue on the progress made during the course of the year, assess the state of our economy, and establish areas of focus as we head into the new year. The 2024 Business Review Conference comes hard on the heels of the Minister of Finance, Professor Mthuli Ncuve's recent 2025 National Budget Statement, which introduced a raft of measures meant to stabilize the economy and the marketplace. It is therefore fortuitous that this year's ZNCC Annual Business Review Conference is taking place at this point in time, providing an invaluable opportunity for us to take stock of all the relevant factors affecting our commerce and industry going forward. This is an opportune time to launch the 2024 Annual State of Industry and Commerce Survey Report, a comprehensive introspection report about our economy. The ZNCC State of Industry Commerce Survey has become an essential tool for decision-making for the business sector and policymakers alike. What makes it even more relevant to me as the Minister of Industry and Commerce is that it is also citizen-centric and touches on issues that impact the consumer. Let me therefore take this opportunity to invite you all to join me in commending the ZNCC, the organizers of this conference, for their sterling job and timely organization of the event. Looking back at 2024, the year that was, the economy experienced its fair share of challenges, including currency depreciation, exchange rate distortions that have affected profitability and viability challenges across all sectors. lack of access to affordable, patient, long-term finance, to name just but a few. Further compounding this has been the El Nino-induced drought. The good professor says which drought? What drought? Which negatively affected agricultural sector performance, and this sector is the traditional anchor of our economy. I would therefore like to applaud the business sector for remaining resilient and for coming up with innovative ways to mitigate these challenges. In 2024, our monetary authorities introduced our domestic currency with the primary focus and objective of bringing stability to our economy. Ladies and gentlemen, beginning of the last quarter, the Ministry launched a transitional industrial reconstruction and growth plan, which is set to bridge the gap between the conclusion of our industrial policy 1 and the launch of our successor policy. The reconstruction and growth plan is the Ministry's direct response to the challenges that have bedeviled our manufacturing and commercial sectors for quite some time now, including informalization of our economy and an unprecedented influx of smuggled and counterfeit goods, among other ills we experience in business. These two that I've singled out have had a direct negative impact on the level of manufacturing sector activity. Therefore, the reconstruction and growth plan seeks to arrest this decline in the manufacturing sector, whilst at the same time restoring order and sanity in the retail and wholesale sectors. In addition, we will be tackling the ease and cost of doing business head-on. This is work that is already underway, coordinated by the Office of the President and Cabinet because of its multi-stakeholder nature. Whilst addressing the immediate challenges that are prevailing in our economy, particularly the manufacturing and commercial sectors, the plan also lays a foundation for accelerated industrial growth and development under the upcoming Zimbabwe National Industrial Development Policy 2, with a view to strengthen our critical value chains. The plan is therefore a testament to our commitment to rebuilding our economy with purpose and vision through upscaling our local production and the reduction in our import bill. I would not have put it much clearer than our professor. He says buying is not trade, especially if we are not producing. The declining contribution of the manufacturing sector to our GDP is a stark reminder that we have potential yet to be tapped into, and I'm hoping that platforms such as this will form the building blocks towards the sector realizing its full potential. The plan, through incentivizing intermediate manufacturing, what is called manufacturing for manufacturing, seeks to leverage on the vast opportunities for import substitution in such value chains as our fertilizers, our pharmaceuticals, our iron and steel, bus and truck, cement, lithium, oilseeds, leather products, among others. In order to strengthen the capacity of our local manufacturers to supply manufactured intermediate goods, the government will target investment proposals to be packaged on intermediate manufactured products. These are products that then become the raw materials for others in the manufacturing sector. By the same token, government is also implementing a local content strategy in collaboration with the Buy Zimbabwe initiative and other relevant stakeholders. And in order to give traction in the implementation of this strategy, government will be promoting a deliberate policy to direct our ministries, departments, and agencies to prioritize local procurement. In view of the fact that government is the single largest buyer on the land, this has immense potential to stimulate demand and then create the much needed employment for our people. Export development. I'm happy ZenTrade is here, represented by the chairman and the CEO, requires our concerted efforts. And I wish to acknowledge the pivotal roles that are played in the main by ZenTrade and the Minerals Marketing Corporation of Zimbabwe, who are promoting and regulating our exports. Colleagues, if we are to properly introspect, and there was a picture that the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade highlighted, which he said is an undesirable state, where we have huge sums of our money going out and very little trinkets coming in. If we are to properly introspect, we are not yet doing justice to our nation on the part of our trade. We cannot continue being a source of raw materials, which in turn sustain industries in other economies. Strategic coordination amongst our institutions, business and government is needed, and it is needed now. This is a practical application of our mantra in Israel, Kiwa Nawanika. You will agree with me, and I'm happy the Prof was very clear, that there is not a single lamentation that will provide solutions. We simply need to come together and act. My ministry treasures the discourse. This discourse, such as these events, as it provides a foundation for insights into the improvements being made by the critical sectors of the economy, as well as critical interventions that are needed to address identified challenges and bottlenecks. These interactions guide the policy formulation and implementation processes, and this adds a lot of value in the alignment of our priorities to critical areas of growth and development. I would like to take this opportunity to commend the private sector for its forthright spirit in collaboration with government. It will take full collaboration between the public and private sectors for our industrial reconstruction and growth plan to succeed. I am aware that the local industry and commerce has been grappling with a number of challenges which have been mentioned already. Among them, issues of power, issues of foreign currency, climate change-induced challenges, as well as increasing informalization of the economy in recent years. It is in this context that the government has been taking the necessary policy measures, particularly towards currency exchange rate and price stability, to address these concerns. And in line with the whole-of-government systems approach, my ministry and all relevant key stakeholders are working hard to combat business malpractices to restore the stability of our local industry as well as commerce. Formalization of our informal sector remains a key priority for government in order to create a level playing field for the formal business sector that currently bears the tax burden for those business operators who are non-compliant. The adoption of simplified registration and tax compliance models for SMEs will be pursued with a view to also widen the tax base for government. Through the whole-of-government approach, again, government will expedite the development of the SME formalization strategy, which the Ministry of Women Affairs, Small to Medium Enterprise Development is currently seized with. It therefore brings much relief that the Ministry of Finance recently delivered a 2025 national budget statement that shows that government is very serious about bringing to an end market distortions caused by the influx of counterfeit and smuggled goods. In this regard, there are 12 product categories that will be deemed as smuggled unless the sellers provide documentary evidence to Zimra Commission in general that these have been properly accounted for. This move by the Treasury will go a long way to restore order on the marketplace and empower the enforcement agencies in the upcoming National Anti-Smuggling Education Awareness campaigns and counterfeit pleas that we will be launching during the month of December. It is commendable to note that the ZNCC has been promoting good corporate citizenship, which entails maximum adherence to rules and regulations that govern the conduct and operations of any corporate in our nation. This involves adherence to environmental regulations and standards to minimize the damage to the environment and impact of climate change. The principle is to think globally while acting locally, and also to make profits and doing so well. I also wish to highlight SDG goal number 12, that is responsible consumption and production, which I'm really quite pleased that ZNCC has brought to the spotlight. As an industry, I call on you to take responsibility for the entire production process and value chains to prevent unintended consequences to the environment. And on behalf of the government, I am indeed grateful to development partners such as UNDP Zimbabwe for the unmatched support towards the implementation of these SDGs. Their partnership with ZNCC shows that collaborative efforts are not only at the government level, but they cascade to the private sector as well. The 2024 Business Review Survey report that the ZNCC has presented to us today paints a sobering picture on the challenges we have faced as a country. According to the 2024 ZNCC Annual State of Industry and Commerce Survey, sectors such as agriculture, forestry and fishing bore the full brunt of the drought's impact on the national economy. The wholesale and retail business sector also faced challenges of low consumer demand, resulting in them being forced by circumstance to scale down on operations and in some cases to close down some outlets altogether. I was having an interesting chat with my brother Chris here, that I am seeing low demand as a matrix within the ease of doing business, and I'm saying I'm still struggling to reconcile how low demand becomes a factor in ease of doing business. So it's still what I'm explaining to do. And I'm here the whole thing, so I'm at your disposal. Meanwhile, the manufacturing sector continues to face foreign currency shortages. I'm sorry, I won't do this. It is very important that we are all informed about these dynamics and remain on the same page so we can align our thinking as we endeavor to prescribe appropriate strategic policy interventions. It therefore gives me great pleasure to commend ZNCC for its resolute commitment to carry out an annual business review and host a stakeholder conference. For the 4th year in succession, ZNCC has been dedicated to fostering a resilient and innovative private sector that can adapt to and seize business opportunities presented by a rapidly changing global economic landscape. By the same token, I would also like to appreciate the broader business community for the vital role you have played in shaping business policies. Speaking of the business opportunities that such a survey presents, again, I was whispering to him that the presenter says our major challenge has been power, and that Zimbabwe is on a cost-reflective power tariff. But the request of business here is that the power cost of business be reduced, I think, to 9 cents, if I read that correctly. And I'm saying, but when we are looking at the business opportunity, for me, the cost-reflective power tariff should be an attraction to business to invest in power generation. Because for all I know, there is no one willing to invest in power generation and they get 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So where is the business opportunity here? I want to assure you that the government, under the astute and visionary leadership of His Excellency President Dr. Ndhlovu, has a listening ear and is taking a holistic approach in analyzing and implementing progressive recommendations from all stakeholders across the board, including organized business, consumers, international financial institutions, and development partners. The government continues to extend its hand to you all to continue partnering with us in implementing projects that bring about inclusive and sustainable transformation of our nation. Together, let us build a Zimbabwe that we can all be proud of, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. My learned professor says there is no public, no private person. We are all citizens, just assigned different areas. Last but not least, I would like to call on the President to take advantage of the assumption of the SADC chairmanship by Zimbabwe in August to advance our strategic goals within the region. It is my fervent hope and expectation that delegates here present will emerge from this conference motivated, fortified, and focused to do far greater for the inclusive, sustainable economic transformation and prosperity of our industry and commerce, as well as the economy at large. With these few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I hope they are few. I now wish to declare the 2024 ZNCC Business Review Conference officially open and the 2024 ZNCC State of Industry and Commerce Survey results officially launched. And if I may conclude by acknowledging that most of us here will be taking a festive break in the coming days. We may not get a chance to meet again until the new year. I therefore want to take this opportunity on my behalf and on behalf of my colleagues here to wish you a Merry Christmas, a restful period. Let's take time to recharge. We have 2025 to conquer. We have 2025 to meet and surpass our national development targets. I thank you.
And we can formally do the cutting, because the cutting ribbon is part of our heritage. But at times it's very rare to get ministers in the same in the same room. I was going to say, before Prof goes, I was going to ask for questions, but the Minister are there any questions, 2-3 questions before we break for tea? Any questions? Any questions from the house? Okay. Please can we have a rolling mic? Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the speakers for their insights about where Zimbabwe industry is going, should be going. I do have a question arising from the introductory remarks. And it centers on the emphasis of capacity utilization. Now, capacity utilization is essentially taking the present industrial infrastructure of Zimbabwe as being optimal, and you are trying to make it become, as fully productive. But if you consider the legacy aspect of our industry, it came most of it as colonial. Secondly, it suffered from condition sanctions, which made most of the people was second-hand. Although Rhodesia was purported to be a very industrialized country. Then, post-independent again, it suffered from it was buffeted by the sanctions, including. Now, if you are looking at capacity utilization of that industry, I can assure you are destined to fail. What I would think we should be looking about is capacity creation, where we take advantage of the new environment of the president, where Zimbabwe comes from the global value chain, and you carve out a niche where we produce world-class goods made in Zimbabwe for the global market. And you can't do that if you are trying to use an antiquated industrial infrastructure and trying to protect it and trying to make yourself a millionaire. You can only make yourself a millionaire, maybe a billionaire, I think.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shoma. I think we take that. I don't know whether you want to respond or we'll put it in the panel for the discussion. We will bring forward for the discussion capacity utilization versus capacity creation. I think that's the key point there. Right at the back.
How do you think it can help society? What do you offer for society?
What do you offer for society? Any other questions? I will just take this question.
Thank you. I want to thank Dr. for such an insightful presentation on the state of the industry report. My question is on construction and real estate activities. I've seen there's a drop there in capacity utilization, but if you are driving along the roads, there's massive construction in terms of roads and also in terms of houses. How do we then explain such kind of interventions from what we witnessed?
Thank you. I see the question is already talking about what's happening in the panel discussions. So we'll hand it over to Andy when we come back from tea so that at least we can discuss that. Okay, I thought maybe people wanted to ask the Minister 1 or 2 questions, but fine. We want to thank you. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to release the top table to proceed to their tea point, and then we can also have our tea. Top table, please. We are not going to have our tea for 15 minutes. First of all, let's just grab our tea and come back So we are allowed to have our team in here. Please break our